On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we wonder, did Ellie delete her Tinder app?
And Dean killed Hitler. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk season 12, episode 5, the one you've been waiting for.
Indeed, the one.
Ew.
Ew? Why ew?
Because this episode.
I don't know. Okay. You're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead.
I know.
So, I guess, how are we all know that it was we all know, like everybody knows that. So how are you doing, Diana?
I'm learning how to use my new knee, and treading my way through the holiday season. That's what I got. Nothing crazy going on here. A lot of time on my butt. That's right. But I graduated from my walker to a cane. So that's pretty exciting. And now I got to figure out how I want to decorate my cane, but it also depends how long I have to use it. I haven't figured that out yet. So,
well, then you can think about different canes, right?
I know. You'll see.
They're such an accessory.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But yeah, that's about it. How about you? What do you got?
Oh, same old. It's holiday season. New Year's Eve is almost here. This is our New Year's Eve show, I guess.
New Year's Day show. This will be Happy New Year for everybody.
Happy New Year. This will be 2026 when this releases. So that's exciting and weird. And we're in the future.
The future. The past to the future.
I took myself to the Tobin Performing Arts Center to see Cirque Musica's Ariel Winter Wonderland, which was Winter Wonderlandy. It was fine. There is Winter Wonderland, and the Ariel stuff was good. No, it was good. It was, but it just, it was, there is.
Well, you see a lot of aerial performances, and you're someone that does aerial work, and so it's probably a little bit different.
I think
perspective
it's
going
not the performances that were bad. It was just the theme, the Winter Wonderland show, which was like the plot, the quote unquote plot was there was a princess of fairyland and there is a prince, and the prince had lost his light, so all the lights in fairyland were dimming because he didn't have the holiday spirit. So then he had to get the holiday spirit. And I don't remember how he ended up getting it. They did a very cute audience participation thing with the 12 Days of Christmas, where they had different props the audience you had to go through. So that's fun. That was something. And they only had like silks. They did like 15 seconds of it. There was 2 or 3 different types of lyra performances, which are cool. They have the thing that I don't know what you call it. They used to have it at SeaWorld, and it's like the 2 circles that go. They're almost like a bike. Oh, I don't know how to call it. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Where it's like 2 cylinders that are on that are on a balancing thing, and they go around in a spin in a circle, and so there's 2 guys that are like making them run. They look like 2 people running in a hamster wheel cage.
Okay.
Can you picture this?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to call it like a gravitron, but it's not a gravitron. But it's kind of the same principle, right? You're working on inertia, and then a guy gets out of one of the cages and runs on top of it, and he jumps up and down. And I was really afraid that man was going to hurt himself. He tripped on his shoes, and it was just there was a couple of things that I'm that's not in the show. He was tripped on rope, the rope got caught, and it was just oh my goodness, that's not in the show, man. Please be careful. And because you can kind of see, and I saw the face of the other performers, when you see the performers go
yeah, that's never a good sign. Whew. But they made it.
But they made it. Nobody was hurt during the show that I was made aware of. So so I did something holiday.
Look at that.
Look at that. It's like I was filled with the holiday spirit. Yeah. And then I hightailed it out of there.
Like the fairy prince.
Like the fairy prince. And I hightailed it out of there to beat traffic on the way home.
Like you do.
I leave everything that's like 5 minutes late. It's like you can just like, oh, the end's happening now. Goodbye. I don't need to see the curtain. Like I don't need to sit there and clap for everybody. I need to get out of this fucking parking garage before everybody else does. San Antonio parking garage. I mean, any parking garage is no joke at the end of a performance. Like you've got to get on top of that.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's just funny.
It's my Tokyo drifted down the parking lot first. So, all right. So let's talk about it's quite, I was going to use a cute word, but there hasn't a lot going on right now because of the holiday season. There's really no news on the boys that I can think of. Mm-mm. So we're just going to straight into this episode. And like Diana said, the title is The One You've Been Waiting For. And according to Supernatural Wiki, that could be a reference to the grenade launcher, as that is the largest and presumably most destructive Trump weapon in the Impala's arsenal. Despite being very noticeable to the audience due to its size and bulk, it was never used, interacted with, or mentioned in any way before. It has been part of the arsenal since the first episode, implying that the audience and Dean wanted to see it in action for a long time. Which I think it's more about the Hitler thing. I agree. That's why I said ew. I think it's that and not the grenade launcher. That's just my opinion. I think they're pushing it because they didn't use it. I think if they'd used a grenade launcher, maybe. But all right, so this was episode 5 of season 12. It first aired November 10th, 2016. It was directed by Nina Lopez Corrado, who we last saw last season direct episode 17, Red Meat. And it was written by, sorry, Dinah has some giggles because I pulled out a finger puppet of a vulture. I have ADHD and I need a fidget thing. My fidget thing right now is a finger puppet of a vulture. Okay. Yeah. We'll post a picture of it somewhere. All right. So this was written by Meredith Glenn. This was her first writer's credit on SPN. Following Supernatural, Meredith went on to work with Kripke as an executive producer on The Boys and was a showrunner for My Lady Jane, which is a comedy about the Lady Jane Grey, which looks delightful. And I think I'd probably seen it, like, but it was only one season, so I need something to watch because there was nothing. That's the other thing. Like, there's just nothing. Oh my gosh! Unless you want to watch holiday shows right now, there's nothing new on, and I'm
just so behind. There's so many things I want to watch that I have not. I'm behind on all the things.
So yeah, you have an excuse to watch stuff, but I've caught up on everything, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with myself besides be productive. No,
not that.
No. All right, so we start off with our recap. There is teenage Mary with her good hair, and then sad adult Mary with her short hair, which is not bad hair. It's just just not as epic as teenage Mary's hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get some Mary, and then we revisit the Thule Society.
And yes, we know this is the only time I will say it, that the real thing should be pronounced Thule.
But that's not what they say on the show.
That is not what they say on the show. So we will all be using the Thule pronunciation. Don't come after us. Okay.
We're this is a podcast about the show, not about proper German pronunciation.
Okay. So we've got Nazi bastards.
Yeah, great. Nazi episode. That's fun. And we open in Columbus, Ohio.
And there's a woman there who at first you're just like, oh, well, she's well-dressed. She's interesting. What's going on with her hair? What's going on? And then you realize what she's there to do, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, Mrs. Lloyd is meeting the antique shop owner after hours to buy a 1931 solid gold Nazi pocket watch. Yeah. And he is changing the price on her. I guess he's asking, what, $80K? Is that what he's asking?
That's what he said. The price went up to 80, and 80. I'm assuming it's not $80, and you don't say like 800, right?
No.
So
and she had brought a bunch of cash, so
yeah, so $80,000 for a fucking pocket watch. That bitch has got a load of cash. All right, so she threatens him with a loss in community status, but that's not going to matter.
Yeah. But he's like, I'm going to find a new buyer if you're not going to pay the 80. And so he starts to walk away. And as he's walking away, she's like, what's that? And his wrist is smoking and he bursts into fucking flames.
And she's like, oh, it's my opportunity
to grab this watch. And so she grabs the watch and then she bursts into fucking flames while someone lurking is watching.
Who could that be?
Yeah.
We don't know. So we're going to go to the bunker and something's going on because Sam has come in with some food and Dean cannot be tempted by the food, not even with pie.
Yeah, that's distressing. Very distressing. And Sam knows that this means something is wrong. And he asks if it's about Mom. And Dean does not, which I thought we resolved this last episode, but whatever. And Dean just insists that he's fine. But he found a case, 2 bodies burning in a mystery fire. And then he kind of reconsiders the pie. As he describes Mrs. Lloyd has Scrooge McDuck money, which I appreciate. And was going to the antique shop at 3 a.m., which is super sus. And so...
But rich people like antiquing.
That's true.
At 3 a.m.
Well, and so Sam calls him out for using this to avoid dealing with his feelings, and Dean acknowledges that that's kind of his thing.
I think it's kind of both their things, right?
Isn't all of their things? Fuck addicts, all of them.
Yeah,
all of them Winchesters, all of them. But
so we go to Ohio, and this antique shop looks worse in the daylight from the outside.
It does. And Sam just picks the lock to a crime scene. No biggie.
Miss break and enter again.
Mm-hmm. And they see these burn marks on the floor, and they're like, "Oh, there's Miss the McDuck lady," and the shop owner Marvin is his name, right?
Is Marvin Brinkle? Although I wrote in my notes Markin Brinkle, but that is Marvin Brinkle, and he was a widower. And they are doing their checks, right? And there's no sulfur, there's no EMF, there's no hex bags, but maybe like this is all. Look at all the stuff around us. Maybe there's a cursed object.
Sure, totally makes sense. So Sam's going to go dig around on the computer, which okay. Well, Dean goes and starts knocking things over.
He just Wreck-It Ralphs the entire thing. He just like starts off by touching like one little sail on a ship, and then it just goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, Sam has located an email exchange with Mrs. Lloyd about the pocket watch. And as that's happening, Dean notices some weird marks on the floor that indicate a secret door. So he's opening the secret door as Sam is reading this email explaining what this fucking pocket watch was. And we have a Nazi room.
Yeah, a Nazi shrine practically.
It's a
not
lot
practically.
Of Nazi
it was a it's a shrine. It's a Nazi shrine.
And this is so now they finally Sam comes to see what Dean has discovered, and now they realize that Marvin was dealing with Nazi nut jobs. Fun.
Yeah, and so the police didn't report finding the watch.
Yeah, which apparently belonged to a member of Hitler's inner circle. And so they have now figured out that somehow the Thule must be involved.
Because of the MO, there is the emulation too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dean's got the comment for everybody. Nazis. We hate those guys.
Yeah, we all hate these guys. So
yeah.
And I made a promise last time we had to deal with these guys that we were going to talk about the rest of a story of a woman named Elżbieta. So this is lore. today we're going to finish up our story about Elżbieta Zawacka, and she was a woman who parachuted into occupied Poland during World War II. Again, the majority of this information comes from Claire Mully's book, Agent Zoe, and this is really just a tip of Elżbieta's life, so I encourage you to read her book. The rest of the sources will be in the show notes. So a recap, just to remind everybody, let's recap where we were with Elżbieta, our Polish resistance fighter. It's 1943, and she is 34. It's World War II. The Germans have occupied Poland. She has sworn allegiance to the Home Army, which is loyal to the exiled Polish government based in London, and is an armed wing of what would later be known as the Polish underground state. She works for Farmstead, which is the Home Army's overseas communication team. Over in England, Churchill approved the creation of a secret organization known as the Special Operatives Executive, or the SOE, to arm, train, and help coordinate the resistance in occupied countries. The Polish Commander-in-Chief, General Sikorski, has likewise ordered the formation of a Polish Special Forces parachute unit made from the best of the veterans who are now in Britain, who had already seen action in Poland and France, known as the Chimney. I watched like 3 or 4 videos, and I swear that's maybe how you say it. Close. Look at my Polish DNA and we'll see. It's great. So, all right. So that translates to the silent unseen in English, which is what I will say the rest of the show. This elite force with the motto, "Win freedom or die," would be funded and trained in Britain. So Elżbieta is on a literal mission to get to London to deliver some intelligence. Over the past 2 months, her journey was insane. Crossing the Pyrenees during a negative 20-degree blizzard, evading German soldiers in occupied France, continuing through Spain from Madrid to Seville and then Gibraltar, before finally securing passage on a warship that sailed down the coast of Africa before turning back around towards England. She arrived under the identity of Elizabeth Watson and went to go see the 6th Bureau of the Polish General Staff, who were housed at the Rubens Hotel in London. There, she would meet a man with the chosen name of Run, real name Kazimierz Bilski, who booked her into a hotel near the Piccadilly Circus. So, and just to remind you what type of lady Elżbieta was, this is what I would call the stalking incident. So this man, Rum, wanted to try to connect with Elżbieta, who was not showing any interest in him as a man, which he just found so perplexing. From Agent Zoe, I wanted so much, even for only an instant, to see Zoe as a woman. My ambition was piqued. Out of a bachelor's long-standing habit, I did my best to draw her into some semblance of a flirtation. While out for a walk with Elżbieta, he decided to give her a pair of silk stockings, which he drew out of his pocket like an amorous magician.
Ooh.
Elżbieta could not have given a shit about stockings. First in Germany.
That wasn't her priority?
It was not. And if you were in Germany, only the Gestapo's wives wore them. So if you had them on, you would die.
Fun.
So also,
that's fun.
Her mind was not on, as Rum called them, not elegant bare legs, but on the war and on the death of her brother in Auschwitz.
Yeah, that seems a little bit more important.
So when Elżbieta first met the men of the 6th Bureau, she decided to bitch them out for how terrible the communication routes were. I started to point out to them their mistakes. I am quite direct in these matters. So this did not endear her to them. Mm-mm. And then she was debriefed and finally was able to learn what she had risked her life and limbs for. Intelligence on German U-boats, troop movements, German industry, home army sabotage, files on enemy aircraft and weapons experiments, escape, evasion, and courier routes, an overview of resistance cooperations across Europe, latest Polish reports on the persecution of the Jewish community, including the accounts of the Warsaw Ghetto, a dossier on Auschwitz, and broader plans of the Nazis for extermination of Poles and Jews.
Fun.
So, yeah, this was really important because the people within the Allies were not getting this type of intelligence, right? So they were finally getting the confirmations of all the horrific shit that was happening in Poland and in Germany. So she's in London, and now after receiving some commendations and meeting with various Polish dignitaries, she devoted herself to overhauling the communication systems and instilling in the Sixth Bureau the dangers involved in collecting and processing intelligence. In addition to this, though, she had an agenda to get the women working within the Home Army official military status. The exiled Polish government had officially recognized the Home Army, and the 400,000 men within it were classified as combatants, but the 40,000 women were not. So while there had been a decree drafted by the Home Army commander, General Stefan Grot-Rovecki, he had been captured and murdered in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp on the order of Heinrich Himmler. And the new leadership was not so much in favor of women on the front line. So Elżbieta traveled around Britain, touring all the women's bases where women's auxiliaries were going, and she used this experience to draft revisions to a new decree on women in the Home Army, effectively ensuring that female soldiers had the same rights and obligations as the male soldiers, including the right to rank, promotion, and decoration. And she took out all the references to auxiliary services to include the women, the actual army, and not to be auxiliary, right? And within this, women were not to be conscripted, but could volunteer in between the ages of 18 and 45. So I'm out. All right.
One year to go.
So that done, Elżbieta wanted to return to Poland to get more hands-on with the resistance, and she was really tired of the politics in London. And the politicians were tired of her too. She was called an insane feminist and pioneer of the liberation movement and equality of women, a hysterical woman. The head of the Sixth Bureau, damn Polish names, Protasiewicz, really wanted her gone. But seeing as a war was going on, he couldn't see how he could make it happen. And he was like, I'm looking for a way for you, but unless a chance that you will jump, but you will not jump. To which she was immediately like, why don't I jump? I'll do it. So she started parachute training with the Silent Unseen in August of 1943.
Interesting.
So the Silent Unseen. Of the 2,413 Silent Unseen candidates, only 605 completed the training and passed all the tests. Of those, 579 qualified for airlift. The volunteers included 1 general, 112 staff officers, 894 officers, 592 non-commissioned officers, 771 privates, 15 women, and 28 civilian emissaries of the Polish government in exile. The training lasted 4 to 8 weeks and consisted of 5 courses, including psychological and technical investigations. They were taught to use every kind of weapon, British, Polish, German, Russian, and Italian weapons, and to do mock assassinations. Their covert operations training included interrogation resistance, propaganda driving, close combat, and shooting at invisible targets, but I'm not sure I understand what that is. Is that just shooting at the air?
I don't have an answer for you.
They also learned to craft new identities and to blend into occupied Poland because they were going to be jumping into Poland, and now it was different. A lot of these people had been there before the Nazis took over. Before occupation. So there's all these new like German laws they were expected to know. But there was also other things, just like what were people wearing now, right? Like So what are the fashions?
What will make you stand out as an
exactly,
outsider?
Right?
Yeah.
So once someone passed all of those tests, then they would be able to parachute back into Poland to serve with the Home Army. While there is evidence of other women besides Elżbieta training with the Silent Unseen, no other women parachuted into Poland. Additionally, Elżbieta didn't herself complete all the training. She spent a lot of her time debriefing others on what it was like in occupied Poland and was just exempt from some of the stuff because they're kind of just like...
She's like, you did this already.
Yeah, and she's not really being... It is very controversial about whether or not she is officially a Silent Unseen. She got the badge and everything, but because she didn't go through all of the training, and most of the others would be dropped in to Poland and then go and serve as part. They're still they become agents, right?
Yeah,
and she's just going to go back to her other. She's still an agent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So she went to Scotland to do her parachute training at Largo House in Fife, which is 10 miles from St. Andrews, the base of the first independent Polish parachute brigade, who marked the gates with a sign that read, "Looking for death? Come in for a moment."
Dark,
yes. Most would have had to complete the Monkey Grove assault course, but Elżbieta was exempt. All she had to do was to learn to jump from an aircraft.
That's all.
So the training began with jumping over sand on a trapeze-like swing, then jumping from the first floor, then from small pylons, for which she twisted both ankles on landing, and she blamed her semi-sporty heel. She was jumping in freaking heels.
Of course
she was. The instructor rigidly bandaged her ankles, and she went again. But it was also pretty standard for everyone to fuck up their ankles, heels or not, and broken legs were almost a daily occurrence. The code names eventually...
That's still not out of the question in modern paratrooper training.
Right.
There's a lot of leg and back injuries, yes. Yeah,
the code name eventually assigned to parachute training was lumbargo, which is a medical term for pain in the lower back.
Yeah.
Elżbieta passed her preliminary training, making ready for her final parachute course at Ringway near Manchester. The first part of this training was to jump out of a tethered hot air balloon named Dumbo. Elżbieta did this well enough to qualify for the subsequent trial, a jump from a low-flying Halifax. Apparently, she had heard stories of chutes failing to open and students dying, so she was more of a little anxious.
Yeah.
But she gets on the plane, and this is where you figure out that you basically just fall out of this plane. There is no seating on it except for the edge of the, quote, Joe hole, which is a hole about 5 feet across, which is just a hole in the plane. You just lower your legs and fall, and then you're in the sky, tumbling to the ground.
And hope your parachute opens.
No. Her parachutes did open. She completed her training successfully, and while not in love with parachuting, she was ready to go to Poland. So though delayed by rain, her flight to Poland was finally scheduled for September 9th, 1943. She was going with 2 men who she only knew by their code names, Crystal and Ladder. After being issued their equipment, including money belts and mail, and given passwords and safe house details, they were made ready. Their final steps were taking the oath of allegiance and receiving the silent, unseen badge, although they had to leave the badges behind. Elżbieta got dressed in a barn, putting heavy jumpsuit overalls over a navy blue silk dress, woolen sweater, and an overcoat. No stockings. Her money belt had 20 Polish zloty, 85 Reichsmarks, $50 in paper, and over 40 more in gold. She had to jump out of a plane wearing all this. She had a bag with toiletries, underwear, a shirt, and a skirt, but those were all disposable. She had to run. She also had in her overalls 2 pistols with ammunition, a folding clasp knife and shovel, her compass, torch with flashlight, map, first aid kit, and a poison tablet. She also had sandwiches and hot tea in a flask. Then she had to go through another search to make sure there was nothing on her that could give her away when she landed. Bringing in private packages and pockets of stockings, leather, tea, coffee, chocolate, private letters for family and sweethearts is a huge problem, especially since they often lose some of their belongings in the field during a nervous jump and then require us to search for them.
Oh, yeah.
So Elżbieta was smuggling a letter to Rum's mom on her, but she tried not to think about that. On the plane, it was basically another Halifax with a Joe hole. Elżbieta could see large packages with food and supplies that would follow them out of the hole, including 6 large metal drums filled with guns and explosives. That's always fun to be on a plane with,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, fun. And know that they're going to get shoved out of a plane behind you.
Right. So the plane began its voyage towards Poland, and it was shot at over Denmark, but they made it through, and the pilot pushed them on through Sweden. Then they made it to central Poland, where a welcoming committee had been signaled by a song played on the BBC that they were on their way, and they were ready to light the field with their flashlights. When they reached the jump point, the guys pushed Elżbieta out of the hole with the ladies first and down into the Polish night she fell. When the reception committee's commander Flash embraced Elżbieta and realized she was a woman, he freaked and, quote, screamed out in terror, "A woman!" Flash disagreed with this telling and said, when Zoe took off her parachute helmet, I saw her long hair. A woman. I kissed her on the hand and cheek. Another account had him explain, welcome, the only daughter of the sky.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was a woman.
The first one? Yeah.
The first one seems the most plausible. So the other two landed fine. Ladder was on the roof of a barn, and Crystal went a little farther, but he was also fine. So Elżbieta stripped out of her coveralls, handed over her money belt and the pistols, which are too dangerous for her to be carrying. Flash took them to a safe house where they met a young woman who fed them bread, bacon, and vodka. The next day, Elżbieta woke up to the stink eye from their young hostess, who had found an English label in Elżbieta's dress.
Uh-oh.
So that woman picked the labels out and burnt them, mortifying Elżbieta at her carelessness. If the Germans had found them during a search, it would have meant the literal death of them all. So Elżbieta is just like, oops, and books it out of there pretty quickly and catches a train to Warsaw, where she quickly finds herself back in the underground action. She changes her name again, becoming Elżbieta Novak. An apartment was bought for her by Farmstead, which housed a new secret archive hidden under the floorboards, accessible by lifting the floorboards with a knitting needle, which I think is cool. That would prove pointless because they had to burn all the intelligence. Yep. Beginning in March of 1944, the Nazis made a series of arrests of Farmstead, 78 of them, determined to wipe out the resistance before the Soviets arrived. Elżbieta's name and photograph became known to the Gestapo, and a warrant was issued. Looking for Elżbieta and her boss, Emilia, a few hundred women in their 30s were rounded up on the street.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Elżbieta's name and photograph became known to the Gestapo, and a warrant was issued for her arrest. Looking for Elżbieta and her boss, Emilia, a few hundred women in their mid-30s were rounded up on the street. In August, the Warsaw Uprising popped off. Elżbieta was made captain and served as quartermaster, managing the supply chains to field kitchens and hospitals, providing liaison support and helping to organize the rotation of couriers, medics, and active service personnel. While making good use of her skills, Elżbieta really wanted a gun and to be out in the field, but she accepted her orders. Not only ordering, so she accepted her orders. Then the Nazi counterattacks against the uprising were horrific. Only ordering all members of the Home Army to be shot, even if they surrender. Himmler specified the part of the population not fighting, women and children, should likewise be killed. Nazis moved from house to house, throwing grenades and hurting people into the street to be shot in the head, murdering 40,000 people in one day alone. This was not the end. The resistance fought for 2 months, taking control of substantial parts of the city, only to capitulate on October 2nd, 1944. This after the loss of 200,000 civilians and 18,000 resistors. Under the surrender terms, the Home Army was to be treated as POWs rather than being shot or sent to concentration camps as bandits. Because the order was finally put in that all women in the Home Army were classified as soldiers, they too would be interned as POWs, giving the 3,000 women who surrendered some legal protection that they had never had in combat before. And then the Home Army was officially disbanded January 19th, 1945. Elżbieta continued to resist tyranny until her death at 99 years old. And I will tell more of her story, including that time she cosplayed as a nun and all of her many, many arrests over on Warlore. Her story is so long, we don't have time to tell all of it here. So I'll fill you in on the rest of her details on that, which will drop later on this week. So tune in for that. But that is the story of Elżbieta, the woman who parachuted into occupied Poland.
Wild.
Isn't that wild?
Wild.
Oh. So that's kind of, so a reminder of how much the Nazis suck and how much people can resist, though. So as we're going to see through this episode. So we're swilling back to the apartment. And it's gross, it's Nazis, but it's also kind of an exciting episode. So
it is an exciting episode. That's true. It's just Nazis are gross.
Nazis are gross, but this episode is a lot. So the girl, we go to an apartment where there's a girl making out with a dude. And frankly, like looking at this dude, I really expected him to be the Aryan.
Oh, so
well, he's got like the short hair and the beard,
a very well trimmed beard, and
it's like, oh, that guy's clearly a Nazi, but no, but he's just some dude she picked up on Tinder.
Yeah, so Ellie is learning how to use Tinder, and this is her Tinder date, and she is talking way too much because she is very nervous.
Yep, she's giving herself the slut pep talk in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. And while she's doing that, she hears a crash because two dudes have broken in and set her date on fire.
Yeah, so this is a bad Tinder date. So he has unfortunately been caught on fire and has been burned to death. And worse, they have seen her. Das Mädchen.
Mm-hmm. So she manages to lock the bathroom door, which is not enough to block them, but slows them down, and climbs out the fire escape. And as she's running away, there's the two guys. There's a younger man and an older man. We find out Christoph is the younger man, and his father, Nahus, is his dad. And
it means new house.
Yeah.
What a fucking stupid name.
But he stops because he's like, idiot, we need her alive.
And then he picks out some of her blood with a handkerchief so he can track her. And this is where we first start seeing him being weird with blood.
Yes. So we've got Sam and Dean calling our friend Aaron.
Hey, Aaron. It's been a while since we've seen you.
Yeah. He is in Berlin at, is it Das Murmeltier?
Das Murmeltier, which is the marmot, which a marmot's basically a groundhog.
Okay. Huh. Well, either way, apparently he is continuing his grandfather's work with the Judah Initiative. So we know he's still doing that. And he says that the Thule have been closing ranks and have been really jumpy lately. And they keep talking about Mission Das Blut.
The blood.
Mm-hmm. And they've all been kind of like gathering in one place. But he has not heard shit about a pocket watch. So he doesn't know what that's about. So.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to him. But the boys are listening, have a scanner on, and the scanner goes off, and another body has been found.
Mm-hmm. They've been alerted to the Tinder date. Poor dude. So
swipe left, man. Swipe left.
So they get to the apartment, and the cops telling them that the victim is just ash and bone, doesn't know what could have possibly done that. But the second victim got away and called the cops, and they're like, okay, cool. Where the fuck is she? And we see a guy in a suit walking up to a cop car. Ellie's sitting in the back seat, just like chilling because she's freaked out, but sitting there. And he handcuffs her as she's insisting she's already given her statement. And she realizes that something is very, very wrong as he silently gets in the front seat of the cop car and starts driving.
Yep, and so she's screaming, and we realize that this is the younger douche from earlier, and the boys come out, and they get to see what's going on, and Dean gets to follow that car, and they jump in, baby, in hot pursuit.
Yeah, and she's begging to know why and what's going on, and Christoph asks if she ever shuts up, which... I'm sorry, Ellie, but this is kind of a fair question at this point already.
Yeah, but she's just trying to talk her way out of it. Yeah, and and he gets...
I'm just laughing after the date because she was real awkward on the date, chatty, but yes.
Yeah, so he gets out of the car and he is talking on the phone.
Because they're going to do he's going to try to transfer her to this creepy van in the parking garage. Like you do.
Yep.
Speaking of parking garages. And he hears a gun cock, and it is Dean.
Yep, and Sam lets Ellie out of the police car while that's going on. And then we're going to go to a torture room where Sam is giving Ellie the talk.
It's like a weird, like, abandoned office inside the parking garage.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And yeah, they're giving Ellie and Christoph are getting their talk. I mean, not that Christoph needs it, but yeah. And Dean's like, yeah, you're the safest with us. And she's like, from Nazi zombies? That's really what she's gotten out of this, which...
Yeah, and then we basically get a lowdown, a reminder of what the Thule are. They're not Nazi zombies. They are Nazi necromancers, and they use blood magic to make themselves immortal. If you shoot them in the head and set them on fire, you can kill them.
And also remember that they just you just watched them set your date on fire.
Correct.
So Dean wants Kristoff to tell him what the watch is all about and why they want Ellie. And he's like, you're going to have to kill me. Dean's like, cool, I can do that. And everybody's kind of upset. And then Kristoff is not willing to just get killed. He wants to talk. He said that the watch belongs to his father, who is Commandant Nahaus. And he's in the Thule High Command as a ranking officer. And he will, he's going to kill he's going to kill him for sharing any of this information. And I like that Dean's comment is, what do you think this is, a tickle party? So anyways, but basically we see we get kind of like a flashback as Kristoff tells us the story in a historical, whatever.
Yeah. We get a history lesson according to Supernatural, where we go back to Berlin, 1945 in a different kind of bunker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Kristoff's saying that the Soviets had surrounded them, and everybody except for Commandant Nahaus knew that it was over. We've got Symphony No. 7 in E major, performed by the Netherlands Philharmonic Orchestra playing, and we see Hitler's about to shoot himself. That's what we see. We see,
hooray! He's going to kill himself, but then the Commandant stops him, and we're like, what?
He's like whispers, "There's another way," and basically, they saved his soul in the watch, so the watch is like a Horcrux.
Yep.
And that's all I wanted to get to. I'm like, I just want to get to the Horcrux.
Yep, it's a Horcrux. And so we're not going to explain what that is. We don't know too bad. And it has Hitler's fucking soul in it. Oh, that's great.
Ew. And they're like, what is that, for safekeeping? And Kristoff's like, no, they're going to bring him back. And they just, everybody thought it was insane the first time they heard it, but whatever. He's been hearing it for years, and we find out that Kristoff is not from 1945. He was born in 1999 in Buffalo, which I appreciate.
Which is somehow, but no, that's somehow even more insulting to me. You're just born when? Ew, gross. Like, leave me more from oh my god, you fucking millennial. So.
Is that millennial or is that something else? I don't even know. I think that's the next gen. I don't know.
It's called a millennial because anyway. So after the bunker, the watch gets lost. So we find out that after Adolf shoots himself in the head, the watch got lost, and so
all over the world.
Yeah. So it went to China, then it went to Peru, and then it ended up in Columbus. So now they're hyped to get their Führer resurrection on.
Ugh. Yeah, and apparently and Ellie's realizing that this is not all a joke. She was like kind of like laughing at the whole thing, and she's kind of like, wait, this is pretty intense. And we learn that the soul of Hitler can only inhabit someone who possesses his blood. So it has to be some kind of a relative, and he says, like, right there, and points at Ellie.
And unfortunately, Ellie has to learn some horrible truths about herself.
Yeah. Well, apparently they've been following her. First of all, they've also been, she finds out these people have been following her whole life. Number one, creepy. And she's also like, no, also my mom, tracked our family back to the Mayflower. And he's like, you're adopted.
Way to go. So many things. And so he knows all this stuff, including the fact that she has just had a string of bad luck lately, and she's dropped out of med school, and she had a cheating fiance. And so she storms off. Sam goes off after her.
Yeah. And while she's like storming off, like we got, Kristoff listing other facts about her. Ew. And she texts her mom and asks if she was adopted. And mom said to call. Please call us, honey. So apparently Kristoff has now flipped her life inside out. And Sam's like, you can handle this. And she's like, being flighty, I can handle. Being related to a genocidal maniac, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a lot of language, a lot of things to learn in one day. Mm-hmm. So a limo pulls into the garage, and there's now House in there, just like smelling on his hanky.
Ugh, their blood, ew. And while Sam's still trying to give Ellie a pep talk, she asks him if they're trying to, like, if someone wants to use him to resurrect Adolf Hitler. And he's like, not exactly, but they wanted me to be Lucifer's vessel. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, too much.
He broke too much information. So now Dean comes in and wants to use Ellie as a trap and tells her there are times when you run and there are times when you stand and fight. And this is going to be one of those times when you fight. But
before they can set up a trap.
Yeah, before you can do that, the Thule are already in there.
Mm-hmm. And we get fights. We get
lots of fisticuffs.
Lots of fisticuffs. Christoph gets, untied. And then as one of the Thule gets a radio call and they leave Sam and Dean there shaken up and Ellie is gone.
Yeah, and the bad guys run away, Ellie's run away, and she's out on the street, and of course she gets taken.
Yeah, she gets nabbed by the limo, of course. So, and then Sam and Dean are just frantically calling her cell phone, like they think she's gonna answer, anyways.
And leaves
but they're already changed clothes.
And leaves a very long voicemail about all this Hitler stuff is confusing.
Yeah, we've changed clothes and leaving very long voicemails. It's a scene.
It is,
to be sure. But anyways, we see that Neuhaus is listening to this voicemail in the limo. And he is pissed at Christoph for telling all about Hitler. But Christoph's like, no, I was stalling. But he's not buying it.
Yeah. And the son accuses the dad of just wanting to relive his glory days with Hitler, which is pretty, like, it's just like the 80s, man. It's all you want to do. But it's, glory days. So, and then the dad accuses millennials of being too weak and needing a stronger hand. Yeah, see, the kid's a fucking millennial. Yeah. And so,
and then he tells Ellie that she has his eyes.
So creepy. It's very creepy. Then we go to a cafe where Dean's just like, there's got to be a tracking spell, and Sam's like, yes, but we don't have anything of hers to track. So we're just going to hack all the traffic cameras until we find her.
Sure. So they get Ellie to a airplane hangar, and she is sedated and put on a stretcher, and they are going to go start the purification ritual.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So, and Christoph basically gets told to go away and go get murdered.
Yeah, Dad tells Fritz to kill his son. That's what happens. And Fritz is about to shoot him, but he gets distracted by a radio call about the location of Sam and Dean. So Christoph takes this opportunity to fight and shoot him instead.
So he takes out Fritz. We go to the cafe, and the guys have got nothing on their laptops when all of a sudden Christoph shows up and demands protection.
Yeah, he's like, you got to protect me, and I will share that there is an agent right outside, and he will, kill us if anybody says so. And if that's just all there's to it. Y'all are all going to die. So come on. Ugh. And his comment is, do you know? And they're like, they don't really trust him because of who he is. Fair. And he's like, do you know what it was like to have a Nazi necromancer for a dad? It sucked.
Career day at school was a nightmare, and he was never good enough. Which it is not a good way to grow up with your father being 100-year-old Nazi necromancer. So he offers to take them to Ellie, and outside, Dad has found Fritz and is, of course, happy that Fritz is dead and that his son seems to have gotten some balls. Yeah.
And so we see barely conscious Ellie on this stretcher, and there's all this weird, like, clinical and altery stuff around. It's odd.
Yeah, and then baby pulls up.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to get a good view of Trunk.
Team Trunk!
Yay! And this is where Dean fantasizes about his weapons of choice.
Yeah, they pull weapons out of the trunk, and Dean grabs a grenade launcher. Sam talks him out of it, promising he'll get a chance to do it one day. And this scene was all completely improvised.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Christoph's being handcuffed inside baby because he is not coming along for the ride. So he's going to get left out of all the excitement. Ellie's kind of waking up as she realizes that there's another stretcher next to hers and all these blood tubes going back and forth between her and No House. And we've got Richard Wagner's
Transfusion.
Yeah, Richard Wagner's Der Ring das Nibelungen is playing. More.
It is.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we've got, Das Transfusion.
Das Transfusion. Transfusion. And so he was just, all right, so there's no way he was going to bring Hitler back in her body. He just needed her blood.
Yeah, not some American female. Ugh.
Not a girl. Oh my God.
Ew. Yeah. And so we've got Sam and Dean sneaking up, and they very quietly take down a couple of the guards, and they are making their way into this hangar, so they think. And we see back in the hangar, one of the other Thule guys brings in the pocket watch, and they're another one's lighting candles, and Newhouse is like got his shirt off, and we put this watch on his stomach, and it springs like metal, like robot spider legs that carve a swastika in his stomach.
Yeah, it's very steampunky, and then the watch is swallowed inside of him.
Super weird. And Ellie's like gonna faint and watching all this shit. She's like, WTF, extra WTF at this point. And then Newhouse's eyes pop open, and he says, and his voice changes slightly, and he shouts that it's been so long, and he starts laughing, and he jumps out of bed and bounces around.
And he's Hitler, and he is awake, and he is nuts. And he jumps around, and he's so excited to see his guards, asks, how's his wife? And he's like, oh shit, your wife's dead. And he just laughs a lot. Yeah, it's something. Then he thanks Ellie for the gift. And when he asks what to do with her, he says to take the rest of her blood and give her to the dogs. And then they're like, but we have no dogs. And then he's like, get some. I love doggies. Woof, woof.
So insane. So Dean is wishing that they had the grenade launcher, and then they get caught by guards on their way in. So they get taken in to see our new Hitler. I don't know what to call him. And yeah. Dean makes a bad father joke. So he gets scolded to show the Führer. I can't say it.
Führer.
I can't say that. Führer some respect.
And then they're like, what? Hitler? And so then we learned that Nowhouse was afraid of Sam and Dean. Mm-hmm. Dean gets to put a joke in about whether or not his meat suit came with 2 testicles this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Hitler shows that that's one of many upgrades like this. And he holds up a cell phone and comments that he sold 10 million copies of Mein Kampf. What do you think I can do with Twitter? So
he apparently has quickly learned about Twitter, and he wants to use it to take over the world. Yeah. So Hitler wants to take the boys with him when they're leaving and introduce them to his new dogs.
Yeah. So in the meantime, Ellie has been quietly reaching for a pistol that was left within arm's length of her, and she shoots a Nazi. Ellie shoots a Nazi.
Right in the middle of the head, too.
Yeah, pretty good shot for, I don't know.
For somebody who's on that many drugs, it was a very good shot.
So it's a good enough distraction that Dean's able to get a pistol, Sam's able to get to Ellie, and Hitler's trying to say I can explain, and Dean just punches him and says, "Heil this."
And then shoots Hitler in the head.
And Sam comments, Dude, you killed Hitler.
Awesome.
Awesome. So, yeah.
Dean is very, very proud of himself. And they leave. And Ellie has found a ponytail holder and a hoodie. And they're just walking outside while Dean repeats, I killed Hitler.
He's going to make t-shirts. He's going to get free drinks. And Sam's like, no one's going to believe you. And he's like, but you will. You were there. So they get to Baby and they unlock Christoph, and Sam's like, the Thule that are left are gonna hunt you down as a traitor, you know that? So you should probably fucking run, dude. Maybe to Buffalo, because no one goes there. That's what Dean shares.
So he's let off the hook. Then they drop Ellie off, and we learn that they apparently burnt all the Nazi zombies.
Yeah, so she got to go burn a bunch of Nazi necromancer bodies. Okay. Not traumatic at all.
No.
So she says it's her third worst day ever. But she said that she is going to be okay, and she should call her mom, and ponders what's harder, facing the reincarnation of Hitler or going back to med school. And Sam says Hitler, and she says she thanks him, and then they'd part ways.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree. I think going back to med school, getting after you drop out, may be incredibly difficult.
It seems difficult.
There's probably a lot more hoops to jump through than shooting Hitler in the head. Right. So she goes off, and he just is like, "Take care of yourself. Bye." No aftercare on being Hitler's grandniece.
We don't do that.
No, of course
we
not.
We don't do aftercare. No. So Sam and Dean get in the car. They're good to go, and Dean's ready for pie because he killed Hitler.
Yeah. So things are looking up, and he deserves it. And did he mention that he killed Hitler? So, all right. So we'll never live that down. And are we going to find out about who some of who some of these people were?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Yeah. So Ellie Grant was played by Allison Page. She's been in episodes of Heroes, Flash. She plays Bev/Jill in Days of Our Lives for over 60 episodes. Annie in the movie Wild Game, and Veronica in the movie Dinner Party. Christoph was played by Keenan Tracy. He's been in episodes of Fringe. He's in half a dozen episodes of The 100, a few episodes of iZombie. He's in Murder in a Small Town. He's Gunner in the Bates Motel series for about a dozen episodes. He was Devin in the movie Polaroid, and Cam in the TV series Day of the Dead for about 10 episodes. Commandant Nahus, aka Hitler, was played by Gil Darnell. He was an Australian field hockey player that was going to go Olympics at one point and did not in the end, but fun fact. He's been in episodes of
men play field hockey. Today I learned.
So he's been in episodes of Entourage and a few episodes of Bones. And then he was Major Kurt Fleischer in Soldiers of the Damned. We'll talk through some of our Thule people. Hans was played by Michael Rye, who's been in episodes of Fringe and Arrow. Fritz was played by Wolfgang Klassen, which has been in episodes of Bates Motel. I know, I'm like, he could have just used his real name, but okay. Bates Motel, iZombie, Riverdale, and Altered Carbon. Gottfried was played by Matthias Brunert, and he's actually a dentist in Germany. Anyways, he's been in episodes of Man in High Castle. Our cop was played by Ben Affle. He's been in episodes of Lucifer, Charmed, The Good Doctor, and was a gas station attendant in The Road, which is a very depressing movie. Marvin was played by Charles Siegel, who's been in episodes of Murphy's Law, 21 Jump Street, Charmed, Yellow Jackets. He was Nat in the original It. He was a Chancellor in Ernest Rides Again, and Dr. Shaw in X2. Our Mrs. Lloyd was played by Colleen Winton. She was in episodes of X-Files, 4400, Fringe, Bates Motel, Unreal, iZombie, and Van Helsing a few times. She was also in in Big Eyes, also the film. And then Nick, the date that went up in flames, was played by Dustin Lloyd, been in episodes of Wayward Pines, Arrow, iZombie, Magicians, Riverdale, Kung Fu, and High Potential.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah, so for being a Nazi episode, I'm not saying they're all bad, but this was a fun one.
I mean, Nazis are bad, but you also get to kill Nazis. And
yes,
so, you got to kill Hitler, and a really silly Hitler.
Yeah.
And, and it was an interesting choice. That was the Hitler
premise. Good premise. I agree.
I would take, and I think it was a good thing, right? So, obviously killing Hitler is a good thing, but I mean, it was a good choice going with kind of like the silly Hitler as opposed to like the serious one.
Yeah, I agree. No, for sure. I think it was a super interesting episode, entertaining, and got a little bit of an arc on, Dean got the win that he needed to get back to his Deanie self.
Yeah, and we've been waiting for, obviously I've been waiting since last season for the conclusion of the Thule episode, and getting to see Aaron's always great. I wish we could have had a Gollum like in the sex club, like, because they're just assuming that it's in Germany that the Groundhog Club is a sex club.
I just wish we had more Aaron in the episode. That's all.
Yeah, Aaron could have. I honestly think Aaron and Gollum would have been a fun, at least like comic book spinoff. Like, or
at least like a one-off episode where they do like a side story.
Yeah, I would watch that. I would watch Aaron and the Gollum kill some Nazis.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like, is this the last non-bummer episode we're gonna get this season? No, I don't know. This warning. Least, yeah. Next week. Obviously keep tuning in, and we'll keep discussing how we feel. I'm just preparing you for maybe next week's episode is not as fun as this episode was.
Cool.
Great. All right, so we have that to look forward to. All right. On that note, cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Be a Dick production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.